Hello, everyone, and welcome to Take 5. Did you have a good weekend? This is Monday, and so I hope your weekend was a good one. Ours was. We had an enjoyable time in the worship service yesterday. We had some guests, and now we're getting ready to start the week, and part of the week is Take 5. And we've been studying through the book of James to help us think through our lives in this COVID time. The book of James was written to people that were dispersed. Probably not meeting as often as they could have been. Somehow they were dispersed, at least from their homeland. We're going to see next week that there was a time that they were getting together some, and we'll see that next time. But so these people's lives were a little upside down, just like ours. And James is writing to give them instruction how to live when life is a little weird. So we're going to be in James chapter 1. We're finishing the chapter, verses 26 through the end of the chapter, and he talks about something about what does it mean to have a good religion. And as I was reading this passage, here's how he starts. If anyone thinks he is religious, and he's going to talk about what is the quality of somebody whose religion is beneficial to them. You talk about sports doesn't develop character, it reveals character. Well, COVID time doesn't develop character, it reveals character, maybe. Or it doesn't develop a spirituality or a spiritual maturity, it reveals it. And so as we sit during this time and we wonder how are we doing, and there are times where we're frustrated or alternately grouchy or whatever, how is your faith being manifested during this weird time? And James sort of addresses that. Listen to these words. I'll read them and then we'll just talk a little bit about them. If anyone thinks he is religious, and the word actually is pious. We don't think of religion so much when we think of the scriptures, but it does use the word. But it has to do with piety. It has to do with the outward expression of your faith. It doesn't have to do with what you believe. It has to do with how do you practice your faith. If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Wow. Think about that. If anyone thinks he is religious, how do you practice your piety? Remember, these were Jewish believers, and they practiced their piety by giving alms, by fasting, by praying, all good things, but he's going to go a different way. He's going to go a negative way first. If anyone thinks he's religious and yet does not have control of his tongue, in essence, James is saying this is the better sign of a person's spirituality. Not how much money they give, not how often they pray, not if they fast. Those are all good things. But you want a sign of how someone is practicing their piety? Tell me about your tongue. Are you able to bridle your tongue? And I think of that and I think, whoa. Even in these days, or maybe I should say especially in these days, where it seems like everybody has diarrhea of the mouth or of the fingers and can't stop talking and getting bitter about this or that because of all of this. He says, if that's me, if that's you, your religion is worthless. Sit that for a moment. And then he says this. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this. You want to know what good religion is? If you visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and you keep yourself unstained from the world. A good religion, you visit orphans and widows. You love and you help. I call it help without strings. Why orphans and widows? Because you help someone who can't help you back in return. It's help without strings. Orphans and widows. Your faith, is your spirituality mature? Tell me what you do as far as helping people without strings. And tell me about your character. And you keep yourself unstained from the world. Unstained from the world. You don't look like the world. You don't sound like the world. You don't believe like the world. That's a worthwhile religion. That there's so much stain, so much stench out in this world, especially today. Your faith is worthwhile if you're not stained by that. How's your faith? May the COVID virus reveal our faith And we know that our faith is worthwhile if we're able to bridle our tongue and if we're able to help people without strings and we don't smell or look like the stench of the world around us. I'll see you tomorrow as we continue this study in the book of James. I'll see you.